At this time, I call the March meeting of the County Commission to order. We have with us tonight the Reverend John Belangi from Faith Community Church. We're going to ask that he would do the invocation, and Commissioner Henderson will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. We'll come to the podium. Yes, sir.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much this evening for having another opportunity to come together as a community, as leaders, to try to make wise decisions. I do lift up each and every one of these members of this committee and the other officials that are in this room and ones that aren't in this room today, Father, as we try to make a successful and a strong community. I do pray, God, that you just give us wisdom and give us strength to be able to carry out what we need to carry out for what's best for the people here. And I do lift up, obviously, the nation and the world in the middle of the chaos right now. I just pray that you would just somehow extend a sense of peace and comfort, and that fear would just give way in this season. And we just pray that, again, in that situation, we would respond with wisdom and discretion, God, that you would help us. And we just pray that you be with us in this place tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Commissioners, you have received in your books the minutes of the February meetings. They are motion that these minutes be approved as sent to you.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
That's second.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The motion is carried. Item 5 is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion that the agenda be approved as printed?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
That's second.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
A motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Wade. Any discussion on the motion? Chair is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion
Aye.
is carried. Item number 6, departmental reports. A is the Office of Emergency Services, Director Broom.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. You have my written report. About the only thing I'll add to that is I'm leaving early in the morning and going to Woodbury to pick up Med 3, which we are sorely in need of. It is completed and ready for us to stock it. It'll be inspected by the state on Monday and licensed to be on the road after that, after it passes that inspection. Other than that, I have nothing to add to my report unless there are questions. And then I have the chairman has asked me to give a brief report on COVID-19.
Director Broom, before you do that, is there any questions to him? Let me make a statement on the ambulance. The new ambulance is being gone. As you know, we have partnered with the United States Department of Agriculture. That's approximately a $100,000 vehicle, I think in the 90s somewhere. We have received a $35,000 grant with a $65,000 loan. It's a $65-35. That's the highest amount of grant money you can get on this particular project. So the government's going to pay for 35%, the county's going to pay for 65%. It's up to a 7-year note, 2.7% interest, and there's no penalty if we decide to pay it off earlier than the time frame. Of course, we've purchased and gone through all of this, but I just want to make it clear that we did get $35,000 of that in a grant to us. Okay, if you would, I've asked Director Broom if he would to talk to us a little bit about, bring us up on the coronavirus.
Yes, sir. I'm going to break this into 3 sections. very, very briefly, the federal response, briefly, the state response, and briefly, what we're doing here locally. Very, very briefly, I was invited to a phone conference with the White House Chief of Staff on Wednesday. I did not hear the President's voice, but there were representatives of many divisions of level of government who spoke about what they were doing. In other words, everything from every federal department, from the military to the Small Business Administration, is involved in some way in the response to the COVID-19 outbreak. On the state level, things are beginning to gear up. On the state level, the CDC was handling the Center for Disease Control federally, was the lead agency, and they were handling the initial impact of it. And now they're beginning to back their roll down and allow the states to, as they ramp up their procedures. Under Emergency Service Function 8 of the Emergency Operation Plan of the state and our Emergency Operation Plan locally, the Department of Public Health, the Georgia Department of Public Health, is the lead agency for any type of outbreak like this, pandemic if you want to use the term, and we are constantly in contact. Twice a week we have statewide conference calls with the Department of Public Health with updates. This is a rapidly evolving situation. We will see the numbers of cases increase. COVID-19 is just like any other coronavirus. It is not transmitted in any different way than SARS or MERS or any of the other coronaviruses that we have had on U.S. soil. It is different in that this particular virus has never been seen before. The death rates from this particular virus are skewed. This is from Dr. Toomey, who was at the governor's press conference at 3 o'clock. Dr. Toomey's head of the Georgia Department of Public Health. The numbers are skewed a little bit in the initial phases of it because they have only been testing at-risk populations. And an at-risk population are those who are elderly with pre-existing medical conditions and are primarily hospitalized. So these are people who are most susceptible to even the common flu. So we're seeing high death rates because of the lack of testing in broader arenas. So they believe that the death rates will normalize as testing is available in broader manners. Very early on, we were given screening information for EMS, pre-hospital care, physician's office. I made sure that that went there. The state has mobilized DPH. They have identified Hard Labor Creek State Park as a quarantine zone, and that continues to be developed. They're putting infrastructure in, trailers, they're getting high-speed internet in, the things that will be needed to use that. That's a 6,000-acre facility. So it's isolated and good for that use. Locally, the chairman has instructed me to keep him informed constantly about these matters. There are no confirmed cases of coronavirus in Lincoln County. Can I say that there won't be? Absolutely not. As testing broadens, there may be a case. There is no case now. And it's important that the community understands that if a person develops symptoms of the flu and they have had contact with someone who has traveled abroad, call your primary care physician and tell them why you suspect that has happened. They will know what direction to send you. Going to an emergency room in and of itself exposes you to the potential of becoming ill. And furthermore, exposes, if you were a patient of interest, or investigation, you expose other people. Contact your primary care provider. We cannot do coronavirus testing in an ambulance. The emergency department cannot do it at this point. The larger facilities, hopefully very shortly, will have the in-house capabilities for testing. That is still, and it's moving at a rapid pace. The private testing companies, Dr. Toomey said, are on board and ramping their systems up. I'm hoping by first or middle of next week, your primary care physician will be able to take a sample and send it to one of the LabCorp or Quest or something like that, and they'll be able to test it. I guess I would like to add also that if you read which is all available on the Department of Public Health's website, which the link to it is on the Lincoln County's website, it gives basic instructions on how to protect yourself. Number one, you need to decide if you're part of an at-risk population, and that is an elderly person with known respiratory disorders, an infant with pre-existing medical conditions, or a child who has some illness already. If you're generally healthy, you probably won't feel as bad if you contract COVID-19 as you did if you contracted the flu, the regular old flu. I'm not downplaying the significance of what's going on, but the thing that's going to stop the spread is people thinking and washing your hands. Hand sanitizer is not the salvation from coronavirus. It is helpful, but it is down the list from frequently washing your hands with regular soap, any soap. That's the guidelines that are coming out. There were this morning, you may have seen it on the news because this is an older press release, 31 cases in the state of Georgia. It rose by 5 last night. 31 confirmed cases or presumptive. There are actually 19 confirmed and 19 presumptive. The math don't seem right. But anyway, we also experienced the first fatality from coronavirus in the state today. And I want you to understand this was a 67-year-old patient who had multiple pre-existing medical conditions, including heart disease, hypertension, emphysema, COPD, very susceptible, and that is the one fatality that we have had. If there are any questions from the board that I could add to, I'll try and answer them.
If not, let me state though that when Director Broom and our public health nurse, Hillary Daniel, met this afternoon, the state of Georgia's contact point person is the public health nurses in our health departments, which here is Ms. Hillary Daniel, in conjunction with the EMA directors across the state. So if we have anything, it really goes Hillary, him, and go. So if you know of anything or you're suspicious of anything, then go to the health department. Thank you.
Or their primary care physician. Or their primary care physician.
Okay, the recreation report. That must be Director Glaze is with us. How you doing?
Good evening. You have my written report in front of you. Do we have any questions on that?
Okay, basically we finished the basketball season. We've started the Little League practice, and the season will begin on about 31st of March, I think.
And the splash pad is in progress.
And as you can see in your report, the splash pad for replacing the swimming pool is under construction. They're doing what they're doing out there. The equipment has come in, and that we hope will be completed before they get too much into Little League where they'll have it at Little League. Okay? Any questions to Director Clay? If not, thank you. 6C is Finance Department Director Arnett.
Chairman and Commissioners, you have my written reports. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions, Director Arnett, on the financial reports?
Yes, sir. You got one?
Commissioner Wade.
I'd like to ramble a little bit about the budget. Our budget for the county is $7 million, and you can correct me on that, $7,257,000. And this is March, so we've got about 3 more months before we would be getting into a new budget,
Yes, sir.
which would be in end of June.
Yes, sir. We got 4. This written report that you have is as of the end of February, so we still have March, April, May, and June left. And everything looks good right now. We're right on target where we should be about this time of year. And we'll be getting into next year's budget soon.
Okay, so we got enough money to carry us through.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, look at the financial report, we're pretty much on. Our revenues are just a little bit short, and our expenditures are low, but the reason the revenues are showing just a % or 2 short. Mobile homes haven't come in yet. Naturally, you don't get 100% of your taxes, but the budget overall looks like we're gonna be in good shape. I hope we can be in the shape we were in last year, because it was the best we probably ever had. But if you look at it, we're pretty much on target to where we're supposed to be at this time of the year, about 66 point something %.
66.67.
Any other questions? If not, Public Works, Director Seymour. Thank you, Commissioner Wade.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, members of the board, you have all of my written reports from Public Works. Do not have anything to add to the written reports. However, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you.
I had one quick one. Mr.
Commissioner Clyde?
Mr. Seymour, on the number of permits issued, 27,
Yes, sir.
is that from July to this period?
No, sir.
That's
That's the calendar year.
So we've already got 27?
Yes, sir.
permits?
Yeah, and I can just tell you, there's 2 more sitting on Mr. Butler's desk that are brand-new single-family dwellings that he's reviewing currently that haven't been permitted, so things are moving along pretty good.
Is our average new home still $250,000, somewhere in that range? Or?
Yeah, in that range, yes, sir. The 2 he's got now are probably going to inflate that number a little bit, but yes, sir.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions, Director Seymour? If not, we'll move right on to item number 7, the sale of small parcel ordinance, second reading. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. Would you like for me to read them both, Chairman?
It's up to you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, sir. The first is the sale or disposition of county-owned uneconomic remnants of real property authorized. States the official code of Georgia annotated provides at section 36-9-3 that notwithstanding any provisions of this code section or any other law, ordinance, or resolution to the contrary, a county governing authority is authorized to sell and convey parcels of small or narrow strips of land so shaped or so small as to be incapable of being used independently as zoned or under applicable subdivision or other development ordinances or land use plans, or as streets, whether owned in fee or used by easement, to abutting property owners where such sales and conveyances facilitate the enjoyment of the highest and best use of the abutting owner's property without first submitting the sale or conveyance to the process of an auction or solicitation of sealed bids, provided, however, that each abutting property owner shall be notified of the availability of the property and shall have the opportunity to purchase said property under such terms and conditions as set out by ordinance.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes, sir.
did you read this in its entirety last month?
I did,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Is it not true that it was been on the website for the last 30 days or so?
That's correct, Mr.
It's
Chairman.
not real long, but in the essence of time, I think it's been read. The commissioners know exactly what it is. The public has had an opportunity by the website, and it was read last month. Without objection, I would like to ask for the suspension of the continuous reading of this ordinance. No objection, so ordered. Suspension is in place. We're not going to continue to read the ordinance. It is still on the website. You can do it. Is there a motion that we approve the final reading of the small parcel ordinance for the county?
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion then carried. Item number 8 is where we go into our public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
there's another section on the next page, which are the terms and conditions of the purchase, which was read last
Right,
month.
that's read, and that's on the website too, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do we need a separate vote on it, or is it just all included?
It would be a separate ordinance.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner.
So, is there a motion that we adopt the other part of this? Do you need to read any of it, Mr. Jackson?
No, Mr. Chairman, the commission can waive any further reading.
Okay. All right, is there a motion that we approve this part of the ordinance also?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Last second.
I'll second, Mr.
Motion by
Chairman.
Commissioner Wade, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Correcting. Okay, now we are in our public hearing. We have 3 items that have to come up. Director Seymour.
Mr. Chairman, I think you're gonna need a vote in a second. And go
Okay, is
into
there a motion that we go into our public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Collins, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion on the motion? Chair is none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Director Seymour.
Yes, sir. The first applicant is Ms. Brenda Woodard. This applicant has come before you before. She lives on High Oak Circle, I apologize. And she's applying to abandon 0.32 tenths of an acre of that road, which she owns all sides of that road. Mr. Chairman, this does not require an action by the board at this time. It's down further on the agenda. However, it is available for public comment. Anybody wants to speak for or against the abandonment?
Okay, is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against the abandonment of this 0.3 tenths of a mile?
This is
Ms.
Mr.
Woodward,
Woodard.
if you would, come to the podium. When you get to the podium, state your name for the record.
Brenda Woodard.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Well, I own the property on both sides of the road and I maintain it and cut the easement and everything, and I would like, if I could purchase the road from the county. My barn dead ends at the end of it, so, and I own all property on both sides.
Director Seymour, she can. That's what we're coming up with tonight, that she
That is
can buy that
correct.
proportion of the road back from the county.
That is correct. It'll come, I think, there's a separate line item for the abandonment portion
Yes,
later.
it comes, it's on the agenda further down.
So what do I do?
This is just a public comment section. If
Okay.
people have the right to speak for or
Okay.
against.
Okay.
All right, I'm finished.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to speak for or against? I think that's confusing too. I told Director Seymour this earlier, I thought that was a little bit confusing. But anyway, that's the way it is this day and time. Nobody else is gonna speak for or against? Okay, we don't have to vote on this
No,
particular part, is my understanding. All right. 8B is the applicant, Director Seymour.
Yes, sir. On March the 9th, 2020, the Planning Commission heard the following request. Beltline Energy LLC, which is map 46, parcel 33A, which is located on the Augusta Highway and Partridgetown Road intersection. It consists of 53.50 acres, currently zoned as A2. The application request is to apply for a special use to develop a ground-mounted solar farm. This item was heard by my Planning Commission on Monday with a lengthy discussion. And the recommendation to this board is denial, and that decision was unanimous.
Okay. You've heard the director bring a report from the Planning and Zoning Board to deny the application to Beltline Energy LLC. Is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against? If you would, when you get to the podium for the record, state your name, please,
Yes, sir.
and who you represent.
So my name is Ryan Sanders with Beltline Energy. We are the applicant in this case. We were the applicant that received the vote to deny. And obviously, there's a lot of community concern over this project. And typically in this situation, we'd like to take time to try to address the community concern. But in this case, it was relatively overwhelming. Beltline Energy does a lot of these. We have hundreds of these across the state, or close to 100 of these across the state. There's other areas within Lincoln County that might have more potential and be less objectionable. So it's obviously concerned citizens in the crowd here. And these public forums, that's exactly what they're designed to do, is to receive the feedback from the community and help us trim our sails and navigate in an appropriate fashion. So we're not in the business of trying to force a project into a community where it doesn't fit or it may not be appreciated. These are 40-year useful life for these systems, and we want these things to be a good fit within the communities in which they are located. Obviously, there's some concern. Candidly, I think if we would have had time to address the community's concern, we might could have addressed it. But it does not feel like this is a good fit for this solar farm at this location in this configuration. So I'm happy to put you guys at ease. We're not going to push forward with this solar farm at this moment. We're going to, and candidly, there's strong leadership here in Lincoln County. I took the opportunity, was given the opportunity to meet with the chairman, county attorney, and a few others. I don't believe that this is the right time, place, or system configuration to pursue forward at this location, so we're going to stand down. We are going to take our vote to deny, which I'm 99.9% sure is coming, and we're going to focus our attention on other areas that might be more fruitful, might be a better fit for the community. And we hear you loud and clear. I imagine that some people in the crowd here are prepared to speak against. I'm going to save you the time. We look forward to finding other locations that might be a better fit for the Lincoln community. And so we appreciate everybody's consideration. We appreciate the Planning Commission's time that it took to give us feedback. And we'll use this as a lesson learned. We'll come back with something that we hope is more appropriate next time.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak? If not, I guess we'll entertain a motion.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion from the Planning and Zoning Board to deny this application. Is there a motion that we accept the recommendation? Have a motion by Commissioner Clyde. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried and it is denied. Item, Commissioner Clyde.
And thank you, sir, for your, the sound on that one was the worst we've had. I heard everything else pretty good, but I was having trouble hearing you on that time. But I just wondered, I don't know if we got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sanderson, Rob, but the man sitting in the back,
Yes.
black on, is in charge of all this.
All right.
And what Commissioner Clyde is talking about is that hopefully you've noticed the painting and renovations of the courthouse inside now, and the public address system is being done. If y'all would like to talk, take it to the anteroom, please. Okay. Thank you, and hopefully that's why he's back here to adjust. All right, the next one is 8C, applicants, Faith Community Church, Director Seymour.
Yes, sir.
Yep, go ahead.
Yes, sir. On March the 9th, the Planning Commission also heard from this applicant, which is Faith Community Church, map 39, parcel 009, which is 1437 Leathersville Road. They consist of 3.21 acres, currently zone C3. And the zoning request is for a setback variance. This is an item that we discussed a little bit in our work session. I think you have a newer drawing that was done just this week. I think it was done Monday, actually, that clarifies the setbacks, and it's actually two setbacks, one on Leathersville Road and one on Thompson Highway. The setback on Leathersville Road would be a 5-foot variance to allow them to be closer to the road by 5 foot. The variance on the Thompson Highway side is 26 foot 5.5 inches, I believe, which would allow them to be 25.5 foot closer to Thompson Highway. Understand that this new facility that they're planning to build is not going to be any closer to the road than the current buildings that are currently there. So they're not encroaching any further than what they already are.
On either road?
On either road, on either road. And so my planning commission heard the request and recommend approval, and that recommendation was unanimous.
Gentlemen, if y'all look in your book, I think it was added late this afternoon, and Commissioner Wade, you get one, because I knew you had your book, but we have an artist drawing, I guess, of what the new sanctuary faith community would look like. It's very attractive. It's be a great addition.
Oh, yeah.
One other thing to take into consideration here too is that the reason the building is placed in the location that's being placed and not into the back section that I think Faith Community just purchased is they had to incorporate it with the current buildings they had to be able to meet some current codes that if they weren't able to meet would cost them, I think, about 3 times more than what the construction cost is now, and that's the reasoning for the placement of the building as to where it's at.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation from the director from the planning commission that we accept the variances for Faith Community Church. Is there a motion that we'll accept the recommendation of the planning commission?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Now, motion, is there a second?
A second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Wade, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion?
There'll be adequate parking. Is parking gonna be more to the rear?
They're actually going to move the parking to the new parcel and utilize the new parcel for parking and shuttle people back and forth, is my understanding.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, is there a motion that we come out of our public hearing and go back into our regular session? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
There's a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wade, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried, and I know the clerk is watching me to be sure that I took this vote. And I wrote myself an extra note. Okay, item number 9 is the abandonment, Ms. Woodward, of High Court Circle Director Seymour. Does she need to speak at all on it or not?
No, sir. This is simply an action by the Board of Commissioners. This item has come before y'all several times. I think that's the reason for the new ordinance that y'all just approved would give us the ability to do this. Also had the public hearing portion, so basically it needs an action by this board to abandon the 0.32 acres of High Oak Circle at this time. Mr. Jackson may have some other language he would like in the motion. I'll let him speak on that behalf.
Mr. Chairman, I would just add, to give you the authority to sign the deed over to transfer and sell the property.
Okay, let me be sure that we all clear. This is a road that went, a dirt public road that went down between her property. She owns both sides of the road. And it dead ends at her property, so there's no reason for public access to continue down that road. And I don't blame her one bit. She's doing what I would do if I could do it too. But we're talking about 0.32. Is that this one or something else?
That's it.
Okay.
0.32.
0.32 tenths of an acre. Now, what we got to do now is to vote to sell it to her, or are we just voting on the paperwork? What are we voting on, Mr.?
You're voting to abandon the road and to, what was your language, Mr. Jackson?
And give the chairman the authority to sell it or the approval to sell it and the authority to sign the deed.
Yeah.
Okay, Clerk McKellar, did you get that?
Yes.
I'm glad you did. All right, we are voting to abandon this portion of the road that you have that we've discussed and give me the authority to sign title or whatever over to Ms. Woodward as she purchases the property. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Is that all we need?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's mind's clear. Is there a motion that we abandon the road and give me the authority to sign on behalf of the county to get her a clear title to it?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Henderson. Second.
I'll second.
By Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Thank you. All right, item number 10 is the water expansion at Hidden Harbor, Forest Lake Estates, southeast end of the county.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Director Seymour.
Yes, sir. This was an item that we discussed in detail and in length in our work session. Been working on this project for the last couple of years. We've done some surveys in the Forest Lake and Hidden Harbor area and got a pretty good response, about an 80% response by mail survey, which is pretty good. It's better than pretty good, actually. And so in order for us to move forward with trying to expand our water system into these areas, it requires us to do a preliminary engineering report and some other things, and you have a copy of the EMI proposal to you to do that. And so I would like to ask tonight that y'all approve the chairman to sign this proposal so we can move forward with the expansion project into Hidden Harbor and Forest Lake. And understand, if we're awarded grant from USDA, which we feel highly confident that we will, this money is reimbursable back to the county as well.
Director Seymour, does that need to be approved in the amount of 17,000? Because it's up to that, we don't know what it is.
Yes, sir, it would be up to 17,000. It may be less than that, it may be, but no more.
But what they voting on is to give me the authority to sign on behalf of the county with EMI up to $17,000
That is correct.
for preliminary engineering studies.
Yeah, and the develop an application to USDA and all of those things. yes.
USDA. Won't exceed that amount, could be less.
That's correct.
Okay, does everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
Y'all understand the motion then? We'll do the motion to file, EMI to file with the USDA and me the authority to be able to pay EMI up to 17,000. Hopefully it won't be that much, and that will be reimbursable if we are successful in our grant. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, that motion.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Now, second.
I second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
Commissioner Clyde.
We had a number of folks we thought that would be serviced by this line, so
Yes,
it
sir.
all work out. How many folks?
I think it was in upwards of about 125 new customers. Depending on what route we choose to go, there's a couple of variations of how we're going to go, and we won't know that until we do the preliminary engineering report, which is a hydraulic calculation to make sure that we can provide the water flow that we need to down there. So there's a couple of variations of how we'll get there. So it's going to be around 125, could be more. That would be on the low end.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign, motion carried. Director Seymour, what's the approximate, I know we don't know what the engineer, but the approximate cost to run this line down there? Do you?
I believe it's around $4 million.
That's right, 3.8 or something.
Yes, sir.
And we will get a lot more, as we talked in the work session, we'll have a lot more grant money versus loan money
Then, yes,
for this project if it happens. But I do also want the public to know that we are hopefully by about 30 days away from advertising to bid on another water project that's about a $2 million project that would go into the Montego Point that we've been trying to do forever. But that will become reality here pretty soon, Commissioner Wade. I know that's in your district and my district, and we're particularly interested in that one, and hopefully that has been straightened out and it's ready to go. That money, that 2.9 million, just under 3 million, has already been approved and it's ready to go. So hopefully we go into bid with that. And between now probably and next month, we're going to have some. So I think we've asked Jerry Hood to be here, and maybe even a surprise visitor can come in. But we're going to be looking, and we've already done a little work, but we're going to be looking on extending our wastewater, our sewage, down to probably down about Tulip Road area of Augusta Highway. So that ball is beginning to roll too, and so every bit of that looks good. Anything else to see more? Okay.
Thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Chairman. Montego Point.
Thank you. Well, I know you worked very hard on that, and you're trying to get that done, and for some reason we're about a year behind, and that's just, sometimes government works slow. I don't know, aggravates the heck out of me, but anyway. And I know you too. Water expansion here in Harbor, we just did that, item 11, and I'm satisfied that this gentleman is ready to open his place of business. Some thirsty people will be ready to go and patronize his business. I kept up with you over Facebook and looking, and I know it's been a long process, and you about as aggravated as we are on some water projects, but you're finally about to get it. This is a little different for Lincoln County. We approve alcoholic beverage licenses quite often, but this is going to be the first time that we've had a actual brewery in the county. So I'm turning this over to the clerk. I won't keep hitting this so long. Clerk McCallum.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kyle McLeod, owner of Back Panel Brewing, has come before you to apply for a Class E licensed brewery with consumption on premises. He has met all his requirements.
Okay, and this is the one we had to make some changes to our ordinance. I think we didn't even have a Class E, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
To where we could do it, but this is for the Class E brewery with consumption on premises. This is on 378 before you go over into South Carolina, old Ed Keener bait and tackle place. And for those of you that are listening, you know where it is. Okay, the clerk has recommended that everything has been done and it is ready to be approved. Is there a motion that we approve this license?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion by Commissioner Wade, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion is carried. Mr. Cloud, when do you plan to open it? Have you got a date set?
With today's vote, we have to send our...
Excuse me just a minute. Come to the podium.
With today's vote, our next step is to send our permit to the state. But I've been assured by the State Liquor Commission that once I submit that, to give them a phone call, and it won't take very long. Looking at probably 30 to 45 days before we can open the doors.
Okay, well, good luck to you, and hope you have a very successful business. Thank you for investing in our county. Item number 12 is the Georgia Forestry Commission agreement. That's under my name. We are familiar with this. This is an annual payment that we have to do. The state of Georgia puts it in, and it's a cooperative agreement for wildlife suppression between the Georgia Forestry Commission and Lincoln County Board of Commissioners for 81,584 acres at 10 cents per acre, which makes Lincoln County's annual cost of the Forest Commission of $8,158. Is there a motion that gives us the approval to pay this to the state?
I made that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion carried. Commissioner Henderson, you're lucky to have item number 13. Board appointments. Do you have anybody that you've appointed to these boards?
Yes, sir. I'd like to, for the Recreation Advisory Board, I'd like to reappoint Mr. Godfrey Zellers.
Okay, I'm assuming that's in the form of a motion. We have a motion to reappoint Godfrey Zellers to the Recreation Board by Commissioner Henderson. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr.
Got a
Chairman.
motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion is carried. 13B, Tax Assessor Board, Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Ms. Shannon Zellers to the Board of Tax Assessors.
Have a motion that we appoint, that Commissioner Henderson wants to reappoint Ms. Shannon Zellers to the Board of Tax Assessors. There a second?
I second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion's carried. Before we adjourn, I got one more little quick comment when I looked over to see Robin. The Lincoln County Agricultural Center, University of Georgia Extension Building, that we were fortunate enough to get $298,000 grant to build with no cost of the construction to Lincoln County. It was all state, partnering with the federal government to give us this money to build this facility. As we know, this is the phase 1 of the facility. We have already requested that Governor Kemp find us somewhere in his budget another $225,000 or $50,000. What was it? $225,000, I think.
$225,000.
That letter was sent out last week, I think, to the governor to start the second phase of that. But to tell you where we are, we hope we were going to be in by March. We're not quite there due to weather, but we're making progress. I think the building has even been painted. If you've been in, the painters are through now. In fact, they got paid today. I saw the check. But the building has come a long way. It's pretty. I don't know if the doors are locked yet, but anybody wants to go look at it. We hope that we'll be in there in about 30 days. I know I was out there this morning and a lot was going on between parking lots and septics and what have you. So we appreciate you bearing with us, but we're going to get you there. And she came in and asked me not to do a few things, and I agreed with her. Kind of hard not to. But anyway, that's what it is. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
I've got a comment, Mr. Chairman. I got a comment.
Okay.
I just want to compliment Chairman on the courthouse here. If you haven't noticed, we don't have any 5-gallon buckets up in the attic anymore catching water. So we got a new roof. He's had the exterior painted, and as you can see, he's had the interior painted. So he's been the driving force behind all of that. And I tell you, for a building that's 105 years old,
I think 1916.
yeah, it looks pretty good. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, and I appreciate y'all. If y'all appropriated money, it wouldn't be done, but it does. It really does look good, and I want to also Director Seymour and the Clerk of Court, Mandy Doss, played a big part in a lot of this, particularly the second floor. I don't want to belong it because I know some of you want to go eat, and I'm going to die in the cake, but we have made some changes on both sides of the deal. If you go out of this door, you'll see that finance is no longer on that door. It's in their new part downstairs. The district attorney's name is on this door. Our district attorney, who's district attorney for the 2 judicial circuit of our 6 counties, Bill DuPay, had told us earlier that if we could and provide the space, that he would put a person from his office in Lincoln County pretty much full time. He told me last week that he was gonna fulfill that. So, and they gave me the name, and I forget it, but I think that you will see somebody up south from the district attorney's office here a good bit. On this side, we have, if you go look at the door, it says public defender and conference room. The district attorney nor the public defender's office had an office at the courthouse. On court days, they just had to meet in the halls or in the bathrooms or wherever they could go to talk to their people. So now they have an office here. Public defender will have one here. The conference room will be used by courts when attorneys come for depositions or meeting clients. Our auditors are here. They will now use this conference room over here, was where Mr. Ross's old office used to be, Judge Hammond's office. We're not completely through over here because we got a few things got to move around, but inside of that looks, the conference room looks good. We're gonna move a few things out, but it does, I think it looks extremely well, and I can tell you that the court system and both of the judges, they're just very complimentary to the way it looks. Also in that, some of you might not notice, but I guess maybe y'all do, is new lights up there for this part of the meeting, and Ken also use them. There's 40 light bulbs in here now. Before we put these in, it was 8 light bulbs hanging down in here, and it's very dark to see. The next thing, of course, they can use that if they want to, but those spotlights up there are mostly used for the filming of the commission meeting to give it enough light to work. The next thing is,
That's Director Seymour.
but anyway, I lost my thought before y'all. But anyway, courtroom looks good, and we're proud of it. I hope the public's proud of it. I hope, Austin, you can turn that thing around and show it and shoot it up if you want to. We do have pictures of before and of after. Oh yeah, that's what it was. The next thing, thank you. I had a minute. Also, while this was being done, the PA system in here was 25 years old or so, and Director Daughtry and the gentleman in the back, Mark, I believe.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be a whole lot better.
He's back there making sure that everything's right, not only for this meeting, but it's also set up for the courts. You don't see any microphones anymore. Something's laying up here in front of us. But all of this works for the courts too, and hopefully the PA, the public address system back there is better than it has been. That's what they're working on. But it's also tied into that camera, different from what it used to be. So you can see the new speakers, but we have a public address system for the courtroom, and I think it just all looks good. Anybody here wants to look at it, look at it. Anybody's listening to it, if they want to come. And me, Clerk of Court, Ms. Dawson, we'd be glad to take you around. All right, is there a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Boy, that was quick. That's the quickest we've ever had. A motion by Commissioner Cloud, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion on the motion? There is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion is carried. We stand adjourned.